Introduce the first of our speakers today to kick us off. We're very lucky to have all the way from Seattle our Vice President for Worldwide Education from our Microsoft corporate headquarters, Anthony Salcito. Anthony, welcome to EduDay. It's Friday morning for us here and we're one step closer to the weekend. I know it's your Thursday night, so big thank you to you for joining us in the evening, and I'll hand over to you for the next 10 minutes for our welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here with all of you. I want to just start by thanking you for the work that you're doing every single day. I'm excited about the agenda that was just revealed. There's a lot of great sessions that I know you'll enjoy, but thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be with us. I wish I could attend the entire day, but I have some conversations with some folks in Japan that I've got to run to next. So I really appreciate the time to reflect on what has been an incredible time of change in the world of education. As someone who's been working on transformation of technology's role in schools, classrooms, and universities, I've never seen anything like what we've seen over the last couple of years, where not only have we begun to reimagine what's possible in schools and the role of educators, the connection between students, and the links of skills to a changing workplace, we've started to really reassess the role of technology in the right way, putting learners and educators first, and not seeing tension between the rise of computing and the importance of building skills for the future powered by great teachers. What we've learned and relearned constantly is that teachers are going to be the fuel of the changes that we're going to see in the transformation that's envisioned in education. And I think that's been reaffirmed for the world over the last certainly year and a half or so. We've seen teachers doing heroic things, and I constantly am humbled by the role of our MIE and MIE expert community in terms of their not only resilience, but willingness to jump in, to innovate, to try new things, and continue to give us feedback on how we can make the products that we deliver more attuned to your needs in the classroom. We've done that a lot throughout this pandemic, whether it's been really reinventing how teams can be used and grown in the classroom. If you reflect back before the pandemic broke out, most of what Teams was used as sort of a hub for Office 365, some application integration, some workflow that we added to the product, document sharing and collaboration that was primarily done electronically without voice and video. We've seen Teams really mature as a tool for remote, hybrid, and collaborative learning over the last several years. And frankly, a lot of it has been done to the engineering feedback that we added, both the optimization of assessments and how they work in your environment, continue to integrate the way in which forms and the workflow that we bring into Teams can make real value for educators, adding the Reflect tool, Education Insights, and now with the excitement of Reading Progress, which has just been added into Teams and released globally. I'm super excited about the impact that can have for young learners who are learning to read and build more confidence in their reading. With Immersive Reader, Reading Progress, we really have a set of tools that I think will help with student literacy, helping with second language learners, helping to overcome accessibility challenges as students get on a pathway to read. And we're continuing to innovate and bring more to both the Office 365 Teams platform, continuing to work with many third-party applications. And then obviously we're excited next week with the release of Windows 11, and stay tuned for some great things about Windows 11 for education, which we haven't yet revealed, but we're working hard to make sure that Windows 11 not only is the right operating system for schools, but have a great set of devices that are optimized for the price point and the form and function that schools and students need. So I'm excited about that work, but we know the real focus is on how do we support this community of great educators and school leaders, both with the work that we do with community development, the readiness materials that we produce, the work that we've done with the education transformation framework on envisioning how to navigate through holistic transformation. We've got great foundational tools in place. We're also working, and as many of you may know, on revamping our Microsoft Educator Center, bringing the best of what it's there, but bringing it to a modern platform that I think will add tremendous value to you as you go forward. So really excited about the changes there. And lastly, I just want to say thank you and welcome to our new cohort of Microsoft Innovative Educator Experts in Showcase Schools. I had an opportunity yesterday to welcome um, our new cohort, and I'm excited about the continued impact. Our MIE expert community is now 22,000 strong, which is just incredible. I think a couple of years ago we were hovering right around 1,000 MIE experts, and we've seen tremendous growth in the MIE expert community. And I think I'm excited to learn from them, continue to have their voice, influence our programs, influence the products that we're making. And I'm looking forward to hearing and continue your feedback. I'll leave you with one last thing. I challenge you to continue to push innovation, continue to let your voice be heard. When you're doing something that's amazing or scary, please share it with everyone else so we can learn from what you're doing, celebrate your success, learn from your struggles, so we can continue to get better as a community. Microsoft wakes up every day, our team's motivated by really the core mission of the company. And we're bold enough to have a mission that starts with every person on the planet. And that means breaking through equity and accessibility challenges and helping to make sure that we can have a bold vision that's aligned with you to help your students achieve more. I have nothing but thanks for the work that you do every single day on behalf of your students. And I welcome your continued feedback and input as you grow with Microsoft and learn from a lot of the programs that you're going to hear about over the next several hours. Thank you so much for your partnership, continued success, and I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks, Anthony. So great to have you welcome us here today. I really love what you said about teachers are the fuel for the changes ahead. We are still experiencing uncertainty in the teaching fraternity here in Australia. So, you've worked across lots of countries that have, where teachers are going through similar things. What's been the highlight for what you've seen with the teaching profession?
Well, first I would say the uncertainty is true and it's still happening, but it's been very confined to how do we deal with the dynamics of remote, safe social distancing as we respond to the current challenge. What I would suggest is that post-pandemic is when the real questions start. In a world where we increasingly have data insights that can drive insight on how students are progressing, does the dynamics of how we've done assessment for decades still apply? When we can get real-time feedback on student progression, should we wait a month and a half to understand how they're progressing with a test? Or should we continue to iterate in a much more dynamic way? Should we rethink the way in which we separate students by grades, but think about creating opportunities where we align students based on how they're proceeding against the curriculum in a much more diverse way? These things I think are now possible, partly because we've really untethered the learning environment to what it was, which was a very confined classroom day, to a world of learning that is much broader and much larger with mixed modalities and far more ability to personalize learning for students. I've seen the start of that, which has been exciting. The other thing I think I've seen is educators becoming much more connected to students as humans, which has helped lift student agency. I've heard many teachers putting their students in charge of how they structure the day and almost creating missions for students to collaborate jointly on throughout the remote engagement. I've also seen, I think, a deeper appreciation from parents, society about the roles educators play. Sometimes because learning has come home to the kitchen table, parents may not have been really visible until it was really happening into the classroom. The commitment of teachers, the work that they were doing to help their children, parents got a view of that firsthand. And I think that's created a tremendous catalyst to revamp the respect, the value that teachers have in society. And I love the fact that that happened simultaneously while technology was a core vehicle. So I think the pressure that many educators faced where technology on the rise was going to reduce their value, I think that has been put to rest. And I think we can continue to value the profession of teaching in every society around the world.
Yeah, amazing. And are you seeing the change also happen at a systemic level?
I think it's starting to. One of the things that we've got to really protect against is this desire to go back to normal. There's a lot of, hey, I want to get things exactly like the way, and that's certainly natural, but I think we've got to lean in on pushing for more systemic change. I think that what's the systemic change that I think has happened, and this was defined often by CARTs, technology devices and technology in general. I would say the word that I would use to describe its role in education was acquisition. We got to acquire it, put it into schools and classrooms, and hope that teachers will figure out how to make the most of it. And that's happened spotting in many ways. It's been a success for some cases. In other cases, it's been lightly used. And frankly, in many cases, it's been an annoyance for educators having to deal with the distraction of their students, dealing with technology that wasn't well integrated to curriculum, et cetera. I think that what we've now done, as opposed to taking computers off a cart where students check into the classroom with the device, move their papers around, and then while they're amongst their peers and their teachers, they've had technology as a distraction in their class. I think we've now rethought what technology's real role is, which is actually to extend learning when we're not together, where we're not face to face with learners and educators and resources in the classroom, to extend the learning possibilities, and then using data, curriculum, videos, flipped learning to create new opportunities of engagement, deeper personalization opportunities. So I'm hoping that's a systemic change, because I think that's a change that students will expect. In the US, which has had the biggest dramatic shift from complete remote learning to now starting to be back fully face-to-face, one of the things that's happened with schools is as students return to classroom, it was really a purposeful decision on how do we reshape the way in which we use our time together. Students were saying, hey, we could have just done everything we did today online and stayed at home. And so as opposed to really what a lot of schools have been pressuring on, how do we optimize this digital world? Really, I think the pressure, and many institutions have been surprised by, the pressure is going to be how do they rethink the face-to-face engagement in a world that's now gone digital? And I think that is going to create new opportunities for discussion. But I think that fundamental systemic change has happened.
Yeah, amazing. And I guess building on that, in regards to both student and teacher skills, where do you see the skills requirement, skills gap lying in the years ahead after this 18 months of new world?
In fairness, I think that we've got to do a lot of work to improve data models and system integration. So the curriculum, the learning materials, the student information and learning management system, all of this stuff works connectedly with one identity, one data platform, so we can use insight to inform learning in a much easier way for educators. Right now, it's not happening to the level it certainly can and will happen over time. I think that's one area that we have to really overcome. But educators who are much more able to create mixed modalities and really unbundle learning opportunities for students at their various points of progression based on their career interests, strengths of development, et cetera. I think those educators will be really, really successful. And certainly that's a skill that I think many teachers are going to have to build. How do they use input and data to refine and really create different learning pathways for their students? It's not something that is done broadly, and that's something that technology companies like Microsoft have to help do by making the systems and making it easier for educators, and that's certainly something that we're committed to doing. But I think educators have to be willing to use these insights and inputs in ways to change and reflect their own instruction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I worked for Microsoft for 6 years, run lots of teacher workshops and been, very present in leading a lot of STEM-based learning for teachers. Sure. But I'm seeing more, with the immersive reader and reading progress, that we're starting to support teachers and schools and students in areas beyond the STEM space, which I think is really exciting as well. Is there more coming in that respect?
And well, there's certainly lots of coming in. All of that stuff is connected to a powerful tool like AI. I know lots of students and educators are interested in artificial intelligence. Reading progress, immersive reader, what we do with the presentator coach in PowerPoint, the writing coach in Word, all of that's using advanced AI and certainly analytics and machine learning that we have in our platform. We continue to work across optimization of things like esports with Minecraft Education Edition. So there's exciting things that are there. We just recently launched a new Minecraft world in partnership with UNESCO that I think is certainly worth checking out. We're continuing to invest in our esport worlds for Minecraft. That I think is exciting. And continue to do really great things with Flipgrid updates as well. But I think for the short term, really getting excited about what's going to happen with Windows 11 and the new sets of devices coming from our partners, because I think we've listened a lot about how we can make devices easy to manage for schools and certainly make heterogeneous device environments easier to manage. With Intune for Education, you can manage, iPads, Macs, Android tablets in one place. And eventually we'll have Android applications in Windows devices. So this dynamic around having a really rich app ecosystem will be something that's going to happen on any Windows desktop with the same kind of security, manageability environments that school leaders need. So I think there's going to be some exciting opportunities unfolding as we move forward with some of the changes coming with Windows 11.
Yeah, and I guess building on that again, I think we've seen the device become front and center to a certain extent for the first time. Teams as a platform has been around for us for quite some time, and teachers have been getting more and more used to using the cloud. But the device itself, I think, due to the pandemic, has become front and center as more students have needed them in their hands. So, what sort of things you're excited about with Windows 11 and having more devices in students' hands?
Yeah, it's not about the device itself, it's about what you can do with it. But
Yeah.
What happens when you shift from shared compute to one-to-one is fundamental. There certainly could be lots of computers. We saw this in the beginning of the pandemic. Parents had, two-child homes with 5 computers, but the reality was there was constraint with regards to access, there was constraint with regards to Wi-Fi, all that stuff we still have to solve. But when a student has their own personal learning device, in terms of expectations of teachers that they can collaborate and connect using the same kind of digital tools, changes what's possible. The ability for students to really extend learning and really flip classrooms is really there. And then there's a deeper connection with regards to what we want technology to be, and not just a consumptive tool, but a creation tool, a maker tool. And I think we're starting to see that more as devices come in the hands of students broadly. The one thing that we've got to do, though, as much as it's not about the device, we've got to make the device affordable and accessible for students. You've got to do things like spill-proof keyboards, drop test devices so they're fit and finished for younger students, certainly. And then you've got to have the right security and management foundation that doesn't add complexity for teachers, certainly for school administrators. And that's something that I think is paramount to this approach. And then from our perspective, we want devices that really embrace flexibility, that have all the accessibility functionality that's needed. And we have thousands of different accessibility tools and third-party tools that you can just plug into a USB port in Windows and they'll just work. That's critical for institutions to think about. And then with the range of hardware options, whether it's a very lightweight tablet with very low cost, all the way up to a rich gaming laptop and PC, to rich flexible devices, 2-in-1s with rich pen and touch capabilities. That flexibility is great and should be embraced, but you shouldn't have to have separate OS security management tools to manage all of those different ecosystems. And that's one of the things that we've been striving for Windows, to have the flexibility of that kind of choice with the same management and core value proposition on deploying those devices.
Yeah, absolutely essential moving forward with all of our amazing technologies. So as we wrap up, our final question is around the fact that you visited Australia a lot of times. Hopefully you're going to be visiting again soon after a long break. What are you excited to do next time you come to Australia?
Well, first off, I am excited to visit anywhere, frankly, because it's been hard to just connect the teams. And I have to say, I visit lots of schools, probably thousands of, over 1,000 schools easily in my career. I learned really an ability to understand what was really special happening in the school just by feeling and looking around. I built up a sixth sense of kind of getting to see innovation that wouldn't be the thing that normally shows up. School leaders would show the thing that they were proud of, and I would see other things that I thought were even cooler. So I missed that because I'm not doing that now. I'm still talking to folks every day, but I'm really not getting a chance to see behind the curtains, if you will. I love visiting schools because I can get that energy. I can really have a chance to thank and celebrate teachers and really see how school leaders are applying their talents, their passions in creative ways. So I'm looking forward to learning most of all. When I travel, I see everything and learn so much about what's important. I see the value of teachers every single day. So I'm missing that most of all, and I'm looking forward to having that happen. And certainly I get real great feedback from Australia visits, because what I find the teams are not shy. Both the Microsoft team in Australia give me some of the best feedback across the world because they know what they're talking about and they are really not shy about giving me direct feedback. And that's true with the folks that I talk to in schools and universities in Australia as well. So I love that unbiased feature. I'm I grew up in the Bronx. The Bronx is unfiltered in terms of giving that feedback. So I grew up in that context. And so I love getting that when I'm in Australia.
Amazing. We can't wait to have you back. So thank you so much for joining us. We realize you have to virtually travel off to Japan now. So thanks for joining us from Seattle and giving this worldview and answering all those questions. Have a great evening.
Yeah, thank you, and have a great session.
See ya.